Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our event tonight. My name is Jennifer Bernsteel, and I'm the program manager with the Business and Education Partnership of Waterloo Region. We are a local charity that helps young people in our community explore career options and possibilities. Before we get started tonight, I would like to do a land recognition and acknowledge that the land in which we gather is the land traditionally used by the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe neutral people. We acknowledge their enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people for whom we share this land. I would like to welcome our guests tonight, Jon Callegher, Sedalia Taggart, and David Pope, who will be with us tonight to put on our workshop. They're representing both of our local school boards, Waterloo Catholic and Waterloo Region District School Boards, who are co-hosting this event. Our goal is to help you better understand career opportunities in the skilled trades and how interested students can explore these options while they're still in high school. The events will have three parts. First, we will have our feature presentation by Dr. Jon Callegher, Executive Director of Job Talks, which is a research and media agency that focuses on Canadian workers. Jon is on a mission to ensure that every student is aware of the personal, emotional, health, security, and financial benefits of the skilled trade careers. This will be followed by a joint presentation about how OYAP works from Sedalia Taggart, Student Achievement Consultant at Waterloo Catholic School Board, and David Pope, OYAP Coordinator from Waterloo Region District School Board. Finally, you will have an opportunity to ask questions, and which you are encouraged to type into the Q&A at any point during this presentation. Try to keep them as general possible, and we will be answering them throughout the night, either in the chat or live at the end. I wanted to let everyone know that for privacy issues, your video and audio are turned off throughout this session. And we hope that you can take any information back that you learned tonight back to your school guidance counselors to discuss further options and opportunities. And I wanted to also let you know this is being recorded for future use. It will be on our YouTube channel later, and I will be emailing everyone a copy of the recording so they can watch it later. Okay, so now without further ado, we're going to turn it over to Jon, and I will just do a quick introduction. I'd like to invite Jon to join us. He is on a mission to share his research about job satisfaction in the skilled trades in an age when such jobs are in high demand. Jon is the Executive Director of Job Talks, a research and media agency that focuses on skilled trade workers. As a leading researcher of job satisfaction in Canada, Dr. Callegher has interviewed hundreds of tradespeople and surveyed thousands of workers. He has been the project director for more than $1.5 million of research partnerships. He is also a professor at the School of Marketing at George Brown College in Toronto and has a PhD in sociology from the University of Waterloo. He is a professional keynote speaker who has discussed his research on the radio, television, at international conferences. He's been published in the Globe and Mail and a published author. We are very privileged to have you here tonight, Jon, and I thank you. We look forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. A very generous introduction. Thank you. Thanks to all caregivers here from the Waterloo Region community. I'm really excited to spend some time with you this evening, sharing with you what I've learned about skilled trades and why every caregiver here should be really putting it on the table in terms of a consideration set of a future career when talking with their children. And a reminder again, use that Q&A to take advantage of the opportunity to hear some answers locally from David and Sedalia in your respective school boards. So as a researcher, for anyone here who's interested in research, a researcher starts off with you can say a research question. And this is my research question, everyone. I'd like you to answer that question to yourself. What makes a good job? How would you answer that question? I'll just take about 5 seconds. So I've asked this question actually to 500 caregivers all across Ontario. And this, everyone, is how the results looked. What makes a good job? As you can see on the screen here, this is a word cloud. You're probably familiar. The larger the word or phrase, the more common the answer. And as you can see here, for caregivers across Ontario, a good job is one where, hey, you can make a difference. You have advancement opportunities, you have security, flexibility, benefits, low stress, good culture, work-life balance. But when it comes down to it, everybody, you can see there a good job, according to most caregivers, is one where you get good pay and it's fulfilling. But I also want to point out that whenever you see a word cloud, you should also notice not just what's there, but what is not there. What don't you see in that word cloud, everyone? What you don't see is a specific job. What you don't see is a good job must be connected to university. It must be connected to college, must be connected to apprenticeship. When it comes down to it, a good job for most caregivers, for themselves and their kids, is one that pays well and is fulfilling. Let's keep that in mind today. So, as someone, as Jennifer mentioned, I'm a professor at a college, so I keep in touch with a lot of the students who graduate from my program. And, in terms of the type of program, because I teach in a business type of program, I have a lot of workers who are in office jobs, who graduated and are now working in those kinds of jobs. And I got to tell you, everybody, there's some real challenges that these younger workers are facing. And I just want to spend some time on that. And it's not just necessarily people in traditional office jobs. We have more and more jobs today that are kind of going online, right? And what we're seeing among our younger workforce is that they're spending more and more time on screens. And there are probably some caregivers nodding their head along now, saying they might be experiencing that themselves, or you see that maybe in their older children, certainly even in your younger children too. And it's only going to become more frequent as digital media takes over the working world. Now, we have to keep in mind what that means, right? And the mental health effects of more time on screen. I think we can all agree there's never going to be a study that says more screen time is good for mental health. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the one thing that people suggest if you need to take a break is put the screen down. But we're seeing, unfortunately, and I mean that unfortunately, is it's starting at a very young age. So we have this habits being formed of young people, as early as childhood, getting familiar with being on screens for hours and hours in the day, almost training them up for this kind of workforce of the future. What else are we hearing about younger people today, caregivers, in terms of the challenges they're facing? They are sitting more than they ever have. You can Google this phrase, sitting is the new smoking. I'll say that again. Sitting is the new smoking. You're going to be brought to all kinds of articles making the very clear connection between prolonged sitting and what? Increased risk of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes. You know what? We don't even need to be a medical doctor to know this. It's pretty much common sense. The more time we spend seated, not moving, the worse it is for one's physical health, and I would say mental health as a result. And you know where I'm going with this. It's starting at a younger age, too. The pandemic realized for many, many post-secondary institutions that they can create more programs by having online learning. They can expand programs without adding actual physical seats in a classroom. So the future of post-secondary education is going to be more and more online, seated, staying at home options. And lastly, everyone, loneliness is up, actually among all age groups, not just among our younger generation, but especially they're really feeling it. The digital connectivity promise that would make us feel like we're all connected hasn't worked out. In fact, people feel like they are more alone and disconnected, especially when they're alone, watching other people live their life and watching other people and having a lot of questions about where they stand in the world. Of course, when you have so many options available, it can be a really confusing time. And I want to also just recommend a book for any caregivers here. I think it's the most important book of the 2020s. It's called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation, packed with solid data on the unfortunate negative effects of constant screen time and social media, especially among young girls. It really needs to be read by as many people as possible. So why am I saying all of this, everybody? Well, what's the antidote to a sedentary life, of being in front of a screen all the time, of feeling lonely and alone? To me, it's where one chooses to spend their working life. And one of those career areas, everybody, is the skilled trades. And I've had the opportunity for the past 8 years to meet so many young people in the skilled trades in Ontario, and I've been nothing short of blown away, not only by them, but also by the support that they have from their school boards, like people like Sedalia and David, to get them started in their area of interest and watch them as they launch their careers. So I've studied hundreds of tradespeople in terms of interviewing them on camera. Okay, I produce around 200 interviews with young people in the skilled trades, and I've interviewed thousands of workers in all kinds of jobs. And I've learned without question, without fear of overstating it, tradespeople are among the most intelligent, disciplined workers. They also, as a result, are able to problem solve. And because of that discipline and problem solving skills, can really be creative in their fields. And by the way, this might be surprising to many of you, but I'm going to show you why it's the case. They are very happy in their fields of work compared to the general population of Canadians in other types of jobs. So I've studied thousands of Canadian workers, and the way to do that as a researcher is you give people a big survey and you ask them to answer questions about their job. And they are in all kinds of jobs. And the way to do that in the most simple way is to show them statements. So I showed Canadians in all kinds of jobs 50 statements about their job. And for each statement, they had to think about their job and they had to say if it was true for them, partly true, or not true at all. I'm going to show you just an example of those statements, everyone. So if you have a job right now, I want you to play along. I like thinking of your job. I like having the freedom to make my own decisions at work. True for me, partly true, not true at all. I think my job is cool. My work brings me peace of mind. Doing my job makes me truly happy. Most days, I find my work interesting. I feel a special bond with other people in my field. I like that I can be myself at work. Hard work, pays off in my field. We also asked about the negatives. My job is much too stressful. Maybe you know someone who said this: if it wasn't for the money, I would quit my job tomorrow. Okay. So when you show statements, and 40 more, 50 in total, and you ask Canadians to respond true for me, partly true, not true at all, what you get back is a very large, what we call a data set. And you got to make sense of that data and see the patterns and present them for the general public to understand. This, everyone, is how those patterns work themselves out. We have, as you can see on the screen, 5 worker satisfaction groups in Canada. We have the square pegs, okay, at 11%, bottom rungers at 26%, musketeers at 15%, the comfortable at 21%, and fulfilled at 27%. What I want to do now, parents and caregivers, is just walk you through briefly each slice of the pie so we can see how each group is different from each other. But let's all remember there are always exceptions, right? Of course there are. There are always exceptions. But we got to look at these differences. It's worth putting on the table. So let's start with the least happy group here. Unfortunately, a group we can call square pegs, most likely to say my job is just a job. They're just working for the money. More likely to say that. More likely to say their education and work are not aligned. They have a lesser sense of meaning. They're more unmotivated, unhappy. It is not good news, but it is a reality for about 11% of the Canadian workforce. The square pegs, we hope they'll move to more happier groups in the future. Next, we have a group where many people who are in what we could say entry-level jobs across all fields of work find themselves. We call them bottom rungers. I think you know where I'm going with that, right? Bottom rungers at the bottom rung of the ladder someday are future leaders, right? They are outgoing and engaged. They want to make a difference, but they're also, as it turns out, in some areas, very impatient and frustrated. But what's interesting is where we find the more impatience and the more frustration. It happens to be among younger workers in office jobs, desk jobs, where they want to climb the ladder and they want someone to help them, but they also need a mentor to help them do that. And what, if you've been paying attention to the news today, with artificial intelligence replacing many office jobs, many desk jobs, you have people who would be the mentors. They're worrying about their own job security rather than having time mentoring the next generation. Of course, understandable, they have to look out for themselves, but that creates frustration for younger workers who want mentorship to climb that ladder. So we had square pegs, square pegs, round hole, people who don't feel like they quite fit in their jobs. We have bottom rungers. If you know someone who works in the healthcare industry, my mom was a nurse's aide. She worked in the hospital. She'd be someone who is a musketeer, all for one, one for all. People whose jobs involve working with other people. We create people pleasers, being of service to others, working with others, putting other people first. It's very necessary. It's very noble, very important. It's also, as it turns out, stressful. We especially see that in the healthcare industry, but also people in law enforcement, firefighting, people who work with members of the community who have individual needs. These individuals have more stress in their jobs, so they have to put practice in place to prevent that stress from turning into burnout. But they also have a solidarity with their colleagues. They have a closeness with their coworkers. So they feel excited to come into work often because they like the people that they work with, and that can help them work through the stress as well. So we had square pegs, we had bottom rungers, musketeers, everyone, and here's the group, of course, that surprised many, many people, the comfortable. Don't mess with a good thing. A group of workers who are more likely to say that they have what we call work-life balance in their job. What does that mean? It means when they're done work, they leave work at work and they come home and they have time to spend more freely, right? More dedicated time to spend with family, friends, personal entertainment, and more. And they're not thinking about having to do work in the evening, on the weekends, right? On vacation. They leave work at work and they pick up where they left off the next day. Many who happen to say that they have work-life balance, we discovered are in skilled trades careers. They are also, by the way, settling down earlier in life. What does that mean? It means at an early age, they're buying homes, buying condos, starting families, going on vacations earlier in life than their counterparts in other types of jobs. Why is that? You know why that is, right? Because they can afford to. They start at an early age making good money. And by the way, if they have to work extra time, unlike many other workers in Canada, skilled tradespeople get paid overtime, time and a half or double time for working beyond their set hourly work week. So, a very satisfied group of workers here. Of course, going to talk a lot about them. But just before that, I want to just mention if you see the skilled trades column there, how tradespeople responded, true for me, and how people in other types of jobs responded, true for me. Most days, I feel like I've put an honest day's work. Almost three-quarters of skilled tradespeople say, yeah, that's true for me, compared to two-thirds of Canadians in other jobs. My work gives me a sense of success and achievement. 68%, that's two-thirds of skilled tradespeople say true for me, compared to less than half of Canadians in other jobs. I often have fun at work, 60% to 43%. But parents, caregivers, look at the bottom. Nowadays, I often feel worried. Just 17% tradespeople say that's true for me, compared to 42% of Canadians in other types of jobs. Why are skilled tradespeople three times less likely, Canadians in other jobs, to feel worried or anxious in terms of their work? Everyone, it comes down to a little something called skills security and job security. The fulfilled, lastly, a group of workers who they don't have work-life balance, they have work-life integration. They're working a lot. Many educators are in this space, right? They enjoy being turned on to their jobs. You could say, quote unquote, 24/7. We have educators on the line today, right? Online in the evening, connecting with parents, answering your questions. They do coaching after hours as well. People also who are in leadership positions, management positions, they get value from their work. But the main part of being fulfilled is feeling like they have control. When you feel like you have control in your job, it's very connected to feeling fulfilled at work. It's why, by the way, we see skilled tradespeople in this group too, the fulfilled, because skilled tradespeople, as we're going to see, have a lot of direct control over the work that they do. So very satisfied group of workers here, but everyone, the highlight is the bottom left of this pie chart, the comfortable. Came as a surprise to a lot of people, not just parents and students, but even educators too. And I'm really happy that we have a phrase in research. It's called the data don't lie. The data don't lie. Tradespeople are among the happiest workers in Canada. Let's really keep that in mind. And more on this, going back to that survey of 500 Ontario caregivers that I mentioned at the top, I asked them, what do you want for your children in terms of a job? Now, you have to ask them what is very important, because if you just say important, caregivers will just click everything is important. So, what's very important? Follow along with me, everybody. 87% caregivers say they want their kids to be happy with their job. It's very important. But here's where it gets really interesting. 81% want their kids to have a job where they have work-life balance. Also, they want their kids to have a job where they have good health benefits. And 73% want their kids to have a job that allows them to stay active and healthy, and one that is secure. A little more on this. Gig work is not an option. We call these open-ended answers from caregivers. I want my kids to have a secure job. The importance of job stability and the ability to work independently. Having an essential job is an important consideration now. I would like my child to have a job that they will not lose during a crisis. Now, it's really interesting when you hear those words coming from parents and how they describe, a good job. Because when you then ask them, what do you expect your child to do after they graduate high school? It's a different story, isn't it? I expect, says 47%, my child to go to university. 23% say college. That's a total of 70%. And just 10% say apprenticeship. What's going on here? Well, there's a phrase, you've probably heard it in different contexts. It's called cognitive dissonance. There's lots of different definitions, but I like this one. Keep it simple. The uncomfortable state of mind when someone has conflicting beliefs about the same thing, right? I I have a cognitive dissonance when I say that I care about the environment, and at the same time, I have to catch myself ordering things from Amazon whenever I think I need something, rather than making a list and getting it in one shot. I'll have multiple trucks deliver it to me multiple times a week, right? Cognitive dissonance, but I care about the environment. Cognitive dissonance is something that I've noticed that has happened with parents and the path to a good job and what that really means. And we can see it actually in terms of tuition. So the average tuition debt in Ontario at graduation from college, this is new data, is $16,800. And average tuition debt at graduation from university is $30,800. This is Statistics Canada. When you ask, or rather, where you see this going in the real world, because more than half of post-secondary graduates will have some tuition debt, you see it play out in very real headlines. From CBC, how student loans keep some people trapped in debt. Student loan debt financial post is a major barrier to home ownership for young Ontarians. And from Bloomberg, nearly half of all insolvencies last year were filed by millennials. The key drivers there were mortgage debt and student loan debt. Insolvency means you cannot pay your bills on time. Conflicting beliefs among caregivers. Look at this, looking at tuition. 92% of caregivers in Ontario agree that tuition costs are too high. 81% say I may need to financially support my child into adulthood. 74% say tuition is a serious concern for me and my child. But look at the bottom, everybody. Tuition costs are worth it in the end. Just over half, 52% of caregivers agree with that statement. And yet, they still expect my child to go to university, college, 70% in total. So I asked parents and caregivers of children of what we can say university bound, with university bound traits. And I asked them to tell me about those traits. Describe your university bound children. More than half of caregivers of university bound children describe their kids as, oh, my child's interested in math and science. They have great problem solving skills. They have excellent hand eye coordination. They enjoy outdoor activities. They're creative and artistic. Many of you, I think, know where I'm going with this, right? There are conflicting beliefs here. Some people have trouble organizing themselves around the reality that university traits, as described by these caregivers, are also skilled trades traits, because skilled trades people get to absolutely apply math and science. They have problem solving skills. They apply hand eye coordination. They get to be outdoors. And of course, they get to apply their creative and artistic skills. These aren't things that are university unique. Now, there are the motive power skilled trades. I think many of you are going to learn more about that as you start to learn about the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, where we have auto body and collision damage repairers, automotive service technicians, truck and coach technicians, marine engine technicians, and so many more. When you see a thumbnail, I've interviewed that person. That's a video I'll make available to you when I'm finished. There are the services skilled trades, so much variety here. Chef, sous chef, hairstylist, horticultural technicians. We also have child and youth workers, child development practitioners, and much more. Lots of variety and services skilled trades. There are the industrial skilled trades, massive area of opportunity, very well paying, tool and die makers, hydraulic pneumatic mechanics, industrial electricians, industrial welders, and many, many more in this huge sector of industrial skilled trades. And everybody, the construction skilled trades, massive as well. We have general carpenters, loader operators, tile setters, insulation installers. All of these are young people that I've interviewed across the province. And of course, for everyone, just to give you context, right? The industry is so massive, construction is too broad. You have residential construction, building homes, you have infrastructure construction, connecting those homes and communities, and you have you could say civil construction, the very large projects like giant bridges and stadiums and so much more. There is huge opportunities for construction related careers and the advancement that comes with it. Lastly, though, on this idea of conflicting beliefs, there are maybe some parents watching, possibly some caregivers thinking to themselves, yeah, but I want my kids to work smarter, not harder. Everyone, I want you to put this phrase to bed, as it were. I I realize that it rhymes and it sounds nice to say. Work smarter, not harder. And I used to give this advice too, but I've stopped. What we mean to say is work more efficiently. And that's great advice. We should all work more efficiently. But I gotta say, if you were to think about someone that you admire, who's your hero? Who did you have a poster up on your wall? Who is someone that you've always looked up to? Well, maybe it's a professional athlete, maybe it's an artist, a musical artist, a business person, a political leader, whoever that person is that you really admire. Everyone, absolutely, that person worked hard to get to where they were. And that, as it turns out, is probably one of the things that we admire most about our heroes, that they worked hard. So instead of saying, work smarter, not harder, how about both? Recognize that excellence is working both smarter and harder. And everyone, I have to tell you, having met hundreds of young people in Ontario alone in the skilled trades and talked with them and the people around them, they are not only climbing the ladder quicker because there's a shortage of skilled trades, right? They're making more money. They're also at an early age starting businesses, which I'll mention a little later, and hiring people, which makes them young leaders too, many times in their late 20s, early 30s. And their parents, I can tell you, they might have been a little bit uncertain, unsure, maybe even had a negative perception about their child's decision to enter the skilled trades. Everybody, that is behind them, way behind them today. They are so proud of how their children are succeeding and thriving in their careers. It's incredible. So a skilled trade, a career in the trade starts with an apprenticeship, okay? And that is when a young person learns their skill, some classroom learning, but also it's most of their learning from a certified journey person. They get training along the way. So I'm going to say 5 reasons to support apprenticeship pathways, parents and caregivers. And I'm also going to give you some video content. I'm going to share with you a few video clips just to help drive this point home. So the first reason to support apprenticeship pathways is that young people get advanced work experience. I invite any caregiver who's watching right now, what was your part-time job in school? If you have a child with you, tell them what was your part-time job or jobs in school. Maybe some of you had some pretty cool or very unique out there types of jobs, but there's a good chance that the majority, if we were to take a poll, would say something like, I had a job that involved, bringing food to people on a plate, right? Serving coffee, working a cash register, folding clothes, stocking shelves. These are good jobs for young people, right? Teaches time management, punctuality, but does it make them stand out on a resume among other young people who have the same types of jobs? No, it doesn't. What's really cool about an apprenticeship, which can happen in high school, right, is young people, they get some advanced work experience, some technical work experience that helps them stand out from the pack. And I want you to hear just from, in this case, 3 young women on their automotive service tech apprenticeship, truck and coach technician, and auto-related fields. And I'm just going to play this clip here. You should be able to hear it in a moment, and then I'll come back.
At my apprenticeship as an electrician, we test wire connections and voltages, troubleshoot electrical issues, and wire electronic components.
I'm currently working in the wood mill, and a lot of what I'm doing right now is just observing different types of work, different machines, how they work, how to use them safely, and all aspects of carpentry.
What I like most about my apprenticeship is the learning experience. I've learned a lot of things that I would otherwise never get the chance to learn in a classroom setting, and it's been a really unique experience.
Hope you heard that at the end. Learning something that's outside the classroom setting, a unique experience. I love hearing that. I just want to take a moment to and also remind any caregivers or students who are here to use that Q&A to ask questions from David, who's in the Waterloo region School Board, and Sedalia in the Waterloo Catholic Board. Fire off your questions in that Q&A and get them answered. Everyone, the next reason here to try support apprenticeship pathways is that youth get hands-on learning. This is something that is really interesting. If I go in front of a group of young people and ask them, how many here, instead of, memorizing and theorizing in terms of your preferred way of learning, how many here prefer more to sort of touch and tinker and figure things out? How many prefer to learn in more of a hands-on way? Parents, caregivers, I can tell you, like more than half of students will put their hands up really fast. And I think this is part of that pushback of being constantly on a screen, constantly on a device. There is a craving to have more tactile styles of learning. And as I pointed out early, the options for that are fewer and fewer as post-secondary institutions prioritize the creation of more online learning programs and classes after high school. I want you to hear from two people in the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, just talking about the benefits they get of learning and working with their hands. This is my second clip. Here we go.
The thing I like most about being an apprentice is you get to do both. You not only get to stand back and watch the mechanics, but you also get to be with them. You get to stand beside the mechanic and learn how they're doing it. You get to learn information that isn't in your textbook. You get to learn hands-on material that no one can teach you but a mechanic.
One interesting thing about the trades is the variety of work that I get to do, from the type of material I work on, the tools I use, or the jobs I'm doing. Every day there's something different, and I'm always working on something new.
Awesome. I hope you heard Connor, who's a general machinist there, say every day there's something different. Every day there's something new. I like to say that workers in skilled trades, they get to, right? Get to be on their feet, get to have variety and move to different places. In some cases, they get to travel. Okay, locally or even across the province, across the country in their jobs. And many people did not know this, right? Many people, when we think of skilled trades, we just know what we see maybe when we go past a construction site and we see a limited number of jobs and we think that's it. There are so many, more than 140 skilled trades across those four major areas. Remember, motive power, services, industrial, and construction skilled trades. Everybody, another great reason here to support apprenticeship pathways is that young people get mentor support. They get support from a mentor. I mentioned this earlier, that young people are craving mentorship. Well, in the skilled trades, apprentices learn with support from a mentor, someone to guide them, help them along the way. It's why I really like actually the way school boards talk about post-secondary education as pathways, and especially the skilled trades pathway, because it is a path, right? It is winding. Maybe you've seen some illustrations before, but someone is with you along the way. Parents, caregivers, think about it. How many watching, when you graduated from your post-secondary institution, thinking of that whole experience, did you have someone mentoring you? Did you have someone checking in with you throughout your 3 years, your 4 years? Or did you go to a classroom that was really large and maybe you never even spoke to your professor because it was so large? Or did you ever have someone take you, by the quote unquote, by the hand, right? And introduce you to people, help make connections in, say, college or university. I'm knowing from many people I've asked, this is something that, looking back, was actually pretty rare. It certainly was rare for me. It's a different world in apprenticeship training, where young people essentially are assigned a mentor, a journey person to help train them, guide them, coach them in a way where if they're doing wrong, they're telling them they're doing it wrong and they need to correct it so they can do better. And I think that's a great part of the way people coach in the skilled trades. They train young people up, right, to learn if the table is level, that's a good thing. If it's not, it's not, right? Electricity won't come on, it won't come on, right? And it's right and wrong way to do things. And I think more and more young people could benefit from having that sort of certainty to be really good at something by getting help from a mentor and eventually specializing in a particular area. Another reason, everyone, to support apprenticeship pathways is that young people get to learn how to run a business. I thought it's really important to share this with all of you. And money isn't everything. Of course, that has to be said. But money also is pretty important, especially when you're thinking of the cost of living today. It's getting outrageous, isn't it? There is a lot of talk now about what we can call secret millionaires. And the secret millionaires happen to be people who have a truck with their company name on it, maybe 3 or 4 trucks and lots of clients, and they built it up over 30 or 40 years. Right? They have a small business servicing people's homes in many cases, doing the things that the average homeowner can't do, whether it's plumbing, electrical, roofing, and so on. Well, why this is being talked about now, everybody, is that many of these business owners, these small business owners who are doing very well, they're retiring. And yes, their kids don't want to take over the family business. So they are in a position to either fold up shop and just retire or sell their business, their successful business, and their client list to someone who has an interest and knowledge in that particular field, and of course is interested in running a business. There are so many great stories coming out of the OYAP program, and I'm excited to share with you 2 in this next clip here. The first 2 people were students at one point in the OYAP program in their school. Then they went on to start their own businesses. And today they are hiring students from their school board and surrounding school boards into their business. These are full circle stories. Incredible. The first guy is a younger guy. The second guy, he's a little older gentleman, but he started in high school in the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. Then you'll hear from 2 young women who are excited about the opportunities to start businesses in the skilled trades because they are confident in the ability to be successful. Here you go. This is my second last clip I'm going to show you.
When I was in high school, the apprenticeship program taught me a lot of things like patience, perseverance, and risk-taking. Now that I have my own business, I decided to partner with OYAP because I think it's a great way to get the students out of the classroom and into the workforce.
All through at high school, I was very hands-on and mechanical. I took auto body and automotive, did a co-op program in each. I found that automotive was more interesting to me, found that that was my direction in the trades, and started an apprenticeship right after high school. As an employer, we partnered with OYAP to bring youth into our trade. I feel that the trade needs young people being injected into it, and at that time this is the best way to bring people out of school seamlessly into our apprenticeship programs.
What made me interested in the skilled trades was the opportunity to start your own business and to be financially free at a younger age.
I love the people I'm working with and I'm learning something new every day. What I hope to do in the future is have my own women's masonry company where I can teach women the craft but also introduce girls into the trade.
I absolutely love hearing these kinds of success stories. And everyone, I hear this so often. And there are people maybe watching right now who are surprised to hear these stories. Just start asking, learn about how a young person got into the trades, learn what their path was, what they started making, right? How they started advancing, what the future opportunities are for them, including business related opportunities. It's so exciting. Lastly, everyone, a great reason here to support apprenticeship pathways is earn while learning. Earn while learning. You might have heard that before when hearing the skilled trades being promoted, earn while you learn. Well, that is because young people in the skilled trades, or actually of any age, when you're an apprentice, you get paid while learning. Apprentices get paid, registered apprentices get paid right from the start throughout their training. How many here, when they went to maybe their college or university education, got paid to go to class? No one, probably nobody, right? In the skilled trades, it is different. So going back to that average tuition debt in Ontario, $16,800 at graduation from college, and from university, $30,800. Everybody, what do you think the cost is per year to complete an apprenticeship? What do you think it is? It's just $400 per calendar year. Maybe some people are seeing that and going, what are you talking about? That is the tuition fee for a registered apprenticeship that does not require college or university, around $400 per calendar year. What does that mean for the young person who chose that path? It means they finish that path, that apprenticeship, whether it's a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year apprenticeship, they have completed it at the end, having made money, because the $400 is easy to pay off, and the rest goes into savings, maybe paying off a car loan, saving up for the future. But most importantly, they're able to start their life in an area that they're passionate about, completely debt free. I know there are many people, maybe even some watching, who just wish they knew that this was available to them in high school. It's available for about 20 years, by the way, maybe even more. It just hasn't been promoted as much in recent years, and I'm really happy that it is. So everybody remember those qualities of a good job, according to Caregivers in Ontario, where especially at the top is one where you're fulfilled and you have good pay in addition to making a difference, having advancement opportunities, security, flexibility, low stress benefits, good work-life balance, and of course, good culture. I can tell you, everyone, that there is this program called the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program that I really hope you'll consider trying out and supporting your child if they're interested in trying this out. I'm going to just also mention that you can take a tech class. Of course, there's the OYAP program, there's specialist high skills majors, there's dual credit, but I want to just finish by highlighting the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. Just this one last time, you heard from some young women, 15, 16 years old in high school. In the first clip I showed you, I want you to hear from them just one last time. I think they give a great endorsement here of the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. Here we go. It's my final clip.
When I started my apprenticeship, my family supported me because they knew it was the best option for me as a hands-on learner, and I've always done better in my tech classes than I did the academic ones, and the trades gives me a hands-on experience.
Overall, my friends and family were very supportive. A lot of my academic friends were a little bit confused at this decision at first, but once they saw what I do and how I work, they understood that this is the best option for me.
Thanks to OYAP, I've made so many connections, which I hope to use in the future to be able to get a full-time apprenticeship.
I'd recommend OYAP to other students because it's an awesome experience and you get to learn a lot about working in a workplace and about yourself while you're doing it.
I would recommend OYAP to other students because I think it's very important to explore all opportunities before making a decision.
When I started my
Been an honor talking with you, everybody. Thank you very much again for your attention. And last chance to get a few questions in the chat for Sedalia and David. And also stay tuned to hear their answers. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, John. That was a really eye-opening presentation, and you shared some really powerful and positive information that I'm sure all the caregivers at home are learning a lot about the skilled trades that perhaps they didn't know before. So thank you for that. Thank you for shining a spotlight on a really wonderful career path that maybe some people haven't really given enough thought to. So on that note, so now all the caregivers at home are wondering, so now what can I do with this information? How can I get my child to actually involved in the skilled trades and see if it's for them? So one option, as John alluded to, is the amazing OYAP program, Ontario Youth Apprenticeship, run through the school boards. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to both of our school board reps, Sedalia and David, to tell you more about how your student can get involved within your respective board. And they're dedicated to helping your students plan their future in the skilled trades. So I'm going to pass it off to Sedalia and Dave to give you some more information about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, John, for all the great information as always. All the statistics and all the data that you collect is amazing and definitely helps caregivers know more about the apprenticeship pathway. So I even noticed some in the Q&A, like, how do I get into OYAP? That's always the first question. Like, how do I register? How do I apply? You don't register, you don't apply. Is all you have to do is during course selection in grade 11 or 12, or as early as grade 10 summer school, is you choose to take co-op. So OYAP is part of co-op. So it's just a matter of choosing co-op during course selection. And then once you're in a co-op class, is you talk to your co-op teacher and say, I want a skilled trade placement. And there is 144 apprenticeable trades in Ontario. So most people think there's like maybe 5-10 trades. There's 144. So John listed some from each of the sectors. But again, if you search, you just go to Google and type in like, apprenticeable trades in Ontario, there is 144 of them. I think it's already been shared in the chat. Yes, it has. So you can go to the OYAP provincial site, the WRDSB or the Waterloo Catholic site. And you can see we do have the list of all the trades as well. Job Talks has a YouTube channel, which again, John had alluded to the fact that he's interviewed many, many different trade workers. And you can hear it directly from them about their job, how they got into it, what their day looks like, and the things they like about their job, and even their pay, which is good for pretty much every trade. But again, taking OYAP and taking co-op, so even if you're not interested in a skilled trade, but taking co-op lets you try a career. I always say try a career before you buy a career. So you get to try it in high school while it's free, see if you like that and try it. And the best part is that if you really like it, so you've tried a career and you really like it, you've just made an industry connection. And that's potentially going to be your future employer. So you've made that connection in high school and it gives you that head start. The other great thing about OYAP is it allows you to potentially start that apprenticeship during your co-op placement. And again, that even gives you even farther ahead into your career if skilled trades is the pathway you're interested in. So again, there's a whole variety of grade level students that are here and caregivers with maybe multiple children in different grades. So again, John also kind of mentioned this is taking tech courses. So we recommend taking as many tech courses as you can in your timetable. So there's now the compulsory tech courses in grade 9 and 10. But taking tech lets you build hands-on skills and work with different tools and materials, and again, get some trade knowledge within the classroom environment. Co-op lets you demonstrate that in industry, with a community partner, and actually try it in the real world. So take as many tech courses as you can from grade 9 to 12. And then co-op, like I said, is as early as grade 10 summer school. And everyone loves summer school, but even if you just fit it into your grade 11 or 12 year, that's great. Or some students choose to come back for a 5th year and just to take co-op because they're still not sure what they want to do. We also recommend for those interested in the skilled trade pathway is a lot of skilled trade workers end up being entrepreneurs. So even when you search for electrician on Google Maps, most of the company names has somebody's last name in it because they went through their apprenticeship, they became a journey person, and then started their own company. So we recommend, if you can, take an entrepreneurship course while you're in high school. If you can, physics helps as well if you want to fit that in. And then grade 12 math is really helpful to have. There are a bunch of trades where, although it might not be required for that trade, if you can do it, if you can fit it in, we highly recommend taking that grade 12 math class while you're in high school. And then the last thing I want to mention too is that both school boards have My Blueprint. And we also all have guidance counselors, and there's many different career resources. So students that go into My Blueprint can do lots of career research. They can plan their courses throughout all their grade levels if they want. And there's quizzes and things you can do to kind of help figure out what career you want to do. So when you leave high school, you lose a lot of those resources that you have. So you lose like the guidance counselors, you lose access to some of the software we have, all those great things that we try to provide you while you're in high school. So take advantage of those things while you can. So again, as caregivers of these, of the people, the young people in your house, is ask them about My Blueprint, ask them to show you My Blueprint. You might have already seen My Blueprint for course selection and other things, but there's a whole other side to it for career research and career information that you can check out with your son or daughter. Sedalia, you can fill in if I missed anything or if you have anything else you want to say.
No, I think you did a great job. I think also not forgetting that taking multiple co-op courses is also beneficial. You can try a placement and it might not be your future career. You never know. You could give it another go. And a co-op opportunity and experience is never the wrong thing to do, because in the end, you're either going to realize that that's the career for you and something that you maybe would like to pursue, or then you know that it's not, and you can move on from there and try to pick something else. So planning is important because co-op is a 2-credit course. It's a half a day, either a morning or an afternoon. There are times where students do take a full day co-op, which is 4 credits. So having said that, you still need to make sure that you meet all of your other requirements for compulsory credits. That's why it's really important to start planning ahead. In grade 10, it's ideal to start thinking about future options and mapping out what your grade 11 year might look like, your grade 12 year might look like, and then possibly even extending that further. So don't wait too long, start planning and start trying some of these opportunities because you don't want to miss out. A question
Thank
about
you.
physics. I think that physics, it's not a requirement. It's just a suggestion. And so depending on how well the student does in physics, how well they love it, then, they could take 11 or 12 and go from there. But it's not a requirement, but it is a beneficial course to take.
Thank you, Dave and Sedalia. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us. We are going to just go right into the question and period now. So for those of you who have already been putting questions in the Q&A, they have been getting answered, some of them as we go. We are going to answer some of them live as well. So now's your chance to ask any of our guests a question. Please take advantage of their knowledge. And we're just going to do about a 5-minute Q&A here. So let's just see if any of you see a question in there that you would like to answer on camera, you can do that. Why don't I just ask one to get us going? What should my child do if they do not know what specific trade they would like to do?
I can answer that one. That is, again, the best part of taking co-op is you get to try a career. And the co-op teacher, so there's another question related, so I can say that. So the other question was, who finds the placement? So every co-op class, they don't just send you out into the world and into a random career. There is something called pre-placement. So there's at least around a 3-week period where students are in class and the co-op teacher is learning what careers the students are interested in. They do different exercises and assignments to try and get that information from them. And then they do their best to match a community partner and a career to the interests of that student. So the best way to find the career that you're interested in is to take co-op, so you have an adult kind of helping along the way, making that connection. And then again, all co-op teachers have a long list of careers, a long list of community partners that they work with, and they will try to match the best they can.
Okay, lots of questions coming in now. How do I register my child for OYAP? Is just a question that's come in.
I can answer that. David, did you? Oh, yeah, I'll go. So the parent doesn't register the student for OYAP. The student, when they are in a co-op course, they become registered as an OYAP participant if they are in a placement that is an apprenticeable field, so a skilled trade. So the teacher will take care of providing the necessary forms to the student. The student will have to fill it out, bring it home, get it signed by a parent guardian, and then they submit that to the teacher. And then David and I, we registered participants into the ministry system. And later on, if the student is offered an apprenticeship, then we also support with the process of creating the registered training agreement and helping the student reach that opportunity. So it all happens within the co-op course with the support of the teacher, and then of course with our support as well.
Okay. Here's a question about a 4-credit co-op. Are they only available at certain schools?
Within the Waterloo Catholic District School Board, that is correct. There are some schools that offer 4-credit co-op and some who do not. However, that is something that can be worked out with the student guidance counselor and the co-op department at the school because the student can always double block. So they can take morning co-op and they can also take afternoon co-op, and that creates a 4-credit co-op, even though it might not be visible in my blueprint. In my blueprint, they may only see a 2-credit option. If they want to pursue the 4-credit option, they should speak with their guidance counselor, and that is something that can be arranged. For the Waterloo region, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's the exact same for our board as well.
Okay, great, thank you. John, there was a question in the chat. Perhaps you can answer this one. What would be the top 5 highest paying trades?
Depends on how good you are. No.
It depends on how good you are. No, I would actually say yes, and also how much you're willing to work. It's called overtime, everybody. I just met a young person who's 26 years old, power line technician, $160,000 a year, 26 years old. And what does he want to do now? He wants to go up into higher region areas and hop on the helicopters to install power lines. And that pays $200 an hour. I've met a carpet installer, hardwood floor installer who makes $220,000 a year. Homes need to be built. Flooring needs to be installed. People don't have to work the overtime, but if they want to, they can. So it's a difficult question to answer, but there's so many opportunities there. I would just say if that's part of the question, what's the highest paying jobs to get into? I would say, in skilled trades, especially in construction, industrial skilled trades, just pick something and find your way. As was said, try it out. The money will come.
I just have a question as well, another question. What would you say are the most available trades to be getting into? I know some trades are a little maybe oversaturated than others. So if there was some hidden gem trades that we could steer our children towards. Dave, you have an answer?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, there's 144 apprenticeable trades. And I would say the trades that you think of first. So I would say pretty much every co-op class has at least 5 kids that think they want to be an electrician. Remember, there's many other trades out there. And again, the ones that you tend to think of first, so like electrician and plumber and maybe automotive service technician, those are the ones that get filled first because it's the first one that people think of. So electrician is very difficult because it is heavily saturated, is lots of people want to get into it. And employers are being very choosy as to who they're selecting to be an apprentice with their company. And then again, between Waterloo Catholic and Waterloo Region is we do have some like grade 12 programs for students like graduating, and we partner with some of our trade unions, and those are some of the things that you will see in the course selection guides between the school 2 boards as well. And we have students that actually work with our trade unions and get signed as apprentices during their co-op placement.
Great. I think we have time for one more question and then we're going to wrap it up. Let me just see if there's any here does anyone see one that jumps out at them? We have a positive comment. Someone's son did auto mechanic and he loves it. That's great. Thanks for sharing that.
I can just add in relation to auto mechanic, as David mentioned, very popular. There's very similarities to automotive service technician and truck and coach technician, heavy equipment technician. There are shortages, especially in fixing heavy machinery, right? Again, consider all the massive building projects that Ontario is undergoing and will undergo. There are not enough people qualified to repair the heavy machinery that will need to be repaired. So, think as David suggested, there's the more obvious career choices, but also look at where else can, this interest be more transferable, potentially toward an area where there's a shortage and therefore job security.
And I'll provide one more
Great.
resource that may be super helpful for parents is you can always check out our local workforce planning board site. They have different reports and things that they generate about the careers and the industries in our region. And they do tend to have data where they highlight different trades in need and different careers in need in our region. So just I think it's Wellington Workforce Planning Board. I forget exactly what it's called, but look for Waterloo Region Workforce Planning Board and you'll find the correct site and you'll find the reports.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I just want to thank all of our presenters again tonight for sharing your knowledge and insight and research with us. I think safe to say we all learned a lot tonight, and you've helped us really better understand the opportunities available, and so that people can continue to explore them with their young people in their lives. I think all of us, as a mother of 3, all of us want our children to be successful and thriving and happy. Those are all the goals we all have. So I feel like you've given us a really good lot to think about tonight. So thank you. I just wanted to let everyone know that we will be sending you an email. Everyone that registered will be getting a follow-up email from me. I work for the Business and Education Partnership. So you'll see an email coming in. It will contain a link to this entire presentation, which we have recorded, so that you can watch it again and share it with other people that perhaps weren't able to see it. We'll also be sending you a short satisfaction survey if you wouldn't mind filling it out. We run these events around all through the year for young people, trying to educate and inspire them about future possibilities. So we do appreciate if you would tell us what you think. There will also be links to job talks and both the school board reps, so that you have some resources to continue finding out more after we're done. So I just want to also do a little plug for the BEP. We run events throughout the year. They're always free and they're always related to career exploration for youth. So check us out, follow us on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel, or you'll have a link to our website when you get the email. We have lots of free events. We have an Explore Your Future series coming up, in-person events. So those will be happening around the city, and just keep your eyes open. That's our goal. Our mission is to help youth feel more prepared and less anxious about their future. So hopefully we've done that tonight. So I want to thank everyone again, and we are going to sign off. Thank you for investing an hour of your time to learn more, and I hope you've learned a lot. And thanks again, Jon, Sedalia, and Dave.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. We are running another workshop just like this, a Zoom workshop, in 3 weeks on February 13th. And wait a minute, February 23rd. I'd have to look it up. It's going to be in the email. This one is more geared to the students. So please, if you can get your students to come on and listen, it'll be a similar presentation, but it'll be more directly geared to talking to them. 5 great reasons why you should pursue a career in a skilled trades. So thanks again. Good night. February 13th. Sorry.